I'm a 3D artist, and this week I made a sculpture of the house from up floating above the clouds, which I have high hopes that this project will blow you away. I first started off by 3D printing a file of the house I found online, and let me tell you, this house gives off some really good crunches. After all the crispy crunch is over, it was time to do a little exterior makeover and paint all the panels of the house. This home is iconic for its wide variety of pastel colored walls, which I'll paint on true to scale as in the movie. After all the house's outdoor walls are painted, I'll proceed by painting on the roof panes, which are very ironically a sky blue color. And with that done, the porch is looking a little bit pale, so I'll just finish up the wooden structure off with some browns before adding some black shingles to the roof. And as the roof dries, I'll paint on the window frames, which are very awkwardly colored this neon orange. At this point, they look more like some random orange squares on the house, but don't worry, we'll be fixing that a bit later. Santa Claus may not know his entry point, so I'll paint on some brick red to demark the chimney. And while I'm at it, I'll add some dirt and weathering to the roof panes by dry brushing on some brownish red coloring. With all the fixtures ready to go, the last order of business for this Hollywood house is to add a bit more realism to the windows. So to do that, I'll be using a paint marker to precisely mark the windows as if all the lights are out inside the house and it's impossible to see inside. I'll just close the door, then we're ready to move on to really elevating this sculpture with some balloons. And of course, a like and subscribe would be great and all, but to be honest, what I want even more is to hear some of your best balloon puns in the comments. Just the puns, no strings attached. Thankfully, I didn't have to stress too much about painting these fellas because I used the self-painting resin for them, which saved a bunch of time on this project. To create the big bundle of balloon that I'll be hoisting up our house, I decided to use a bit of metal armature to act as the balloon string, and with a little bit of hot glue, all the balloons came together to form, well, a very underwhelming bunch that wouldn't even hold up my roly-poly pug, let alone an entire house. So I knew I needed more balloons. A lot more balloons. Unfortunately, these balloons weren't of the self-painting kind, so I needed to painstakingly paint each one individually. I printed out 3 sets of 15, so if my math's correct, that makes 35 of these suckers to paint. A little bit more hot gluage, and I've got something that looks like a big army of balloons, finally large enough to lift a home 2,000 feet in the air. And one last thing before assembly. In order to make these balloons really shine in the sunlight, they need a bit of gloss finish. So with a clear coat, I painted my bundle of grapes all around to give it a very finished, shiny texture. At this point, it's just a matter of wrapping the armature around the chimney, suspending the forest of balloons above the house. But this home is still grounded, which means it's time to make us a base. For this sculpture's base, I'm going to use a 4" by 4" square with a 1" hole cut in the center. To make the clouds, I'm going to utilize my phalanges to chop up the cotton rolls, floofing them up into some nimbuses. And with all the aerosoled water complete, it's time to glue it down before taking it outside and airbrushing with some sky blue paint. Airbrushing is arguably my favorite part of every project because it brings me out of my comfort zone. My comfort zone being indoors and taking some risks, touching grass for once. To add a little bit more dimension to the sculpture, I'm going to connect some white LEDs to a 2-volt battery and place it through the center hole in the base to add a little bit of light beneath the clouds. So with our house flying high and a stray balloon escaping on its own, I say before it starts to rain, let's take a look at this beauty. Thanks so much for sticking all the way through, and I hope this video helped elevate your day a little. As always, let me know in the comments what else you want to see made, and until next week, shine bright.